how do you feel then about the fat acceptance movement?
I think it's not good because being obese is unhealthy. So I think that shaming somebody who's fat is not good, but I think it is not something that should be celebrated, which is the main issue that I see in social media is a lot of these companies. It's kind of like hard to even, you can't really blame them because at the same time, so many people are obese that obviously if you're going to make clothing, for example, you're going to make them for obese people too, so they can fit it because that's a giant demographic of your, customer base. So are you going to put, not feature them in advertisements? Like at some point you're going to have to market to those people because they exist and they have to buy clothes just like every other person.
Yeah.
But then if you put out an ad with an obese person who's like in fitness apparel, you get shit on as a company for trying to like promote fat acceptance. And it's like, it's a weird like double-edged sword because I think on one hand, the companies are very aware of this too, and that it gets like media hype and attention and clicks. But on the other hand, it's like these people need to wear clothes. So it's like, I think in general, the kind of the celebration of obesity, which is something that happens in social media and TikTok culture and stuff, is toxic because it definitely does reinforce bad behavior that ultimately I think it's not even a debate that it's not healthy to be holding excessive amounts of body fat. But at the same time, it's kind of like, that double-edged sword, like I said, because some people do have issues that lead to these, problems that may be less controllable than the next guy who just has like a lack of willpower, or because some people just are lazy and fucking suck at following a diet. Like that's just how they are. And then there are some people who legitimately have epigenetics passed on from their fat as hell parents that led to like poor satiety, appetite signaling feedback systems and whatnot, and they're perpetually dealing with heightened levels of hunger compared to the next guy who just feels satisfied off of 1,000 calories less per day. And then is that person just like, a worse off a person who just has low willpower, or is it that their literal brain chemistry is wired differently than this person? It's definitely a very interesting discussion, but I think more compassion needs to be taken to it from both sides of the spectrum.
I agree too. I think that encouraging it and saying that it doesn't cause health problems is an issue. But there just needs to be more education about how to get out of that. Like I would have, but it's also tricky dealing with people who are in a kind of a health crisis. I can remember, I never had someone come up to me and go, oh, maybe you should try an elimination diet because maybe your body's inflamed, maybe you're having allergic reactions. Like I never had that conversation. But whenever anybody did mention any type of kind of alternative approach to health, I can remember being angry at them. Like in an inappropriate way. It was like, how dare you tell me that my problems are solved that easily? And I had like severe problems. But it's hard to speak to sick people who've been trying things for a very long time and then saying, oh, well, maybe you just didn't try this properly.
Like telling a person who's fat, it's just like, you idiot, just eat less. Like sometimes it's not that, like even though that is ultimately will make you lose weight, like there are other complications that can lead to, maybe if you dealt with the same hormone signaling as that person, maybe you'd be fat too. Like you don't know for sure. Because some people literally will have like, for example, if they had an autoimmune issue that was attacking their thyroid, and then they have a lack of thyroid hormone output that regulates their metabolism, and then no matter what they eat, their actual metabolism is at a lowered set point than the next person. They can't necessarily control that inherently just through lifestyle changes, or like how much exercise they're doing necessarily. And they might just have less T3 than the next guy, or crash T3 because their thyroid has been destroyed by this autoimmune issue for years. Telling that person just like eat less and exercise. It's not as simple as that. Or a guy with crash testosterone being like, just get in the gym and lift some weights, bro. Like it's a bit different when you literally have no motivation, no drive, crash testosterone, your libido's non-existent, sleep quality is terrible. It's definitely a nuanced discussion.